Ah, ah, ah. It's after midnight. Hello! I'm back for another evening of fun. It's fun for me because everything is okay. And what we want to avoid tonight is a lot of meh. But our guest tonight will not give us any meh. So, before we bring in our guest, I'd like to, there it is, Roro After Midnight. We are now live, 11 p.m. in Los Angeles, Seattle, San Francisco, San Diego, anywhere in the West Coast. And also 1 a.m. Midwest, what is that? Central Time, 2 a.m. Eastern Time. And feel free to follow me on Facebook, on YouTube, and also on Instagram at Roro the Tenor. Now, as usual, we'd like to start with the joke of the day. Are you ready for the joke of the day? The joke of the day is, what did the buffalo say when his son left? Bye, son. And now we go to pickup line of the day. The pickup line of the day is, your bone structure is giving my bone structure. Oh. As usual, we'd like to remind everyone to please wear a mask, social distance, wash your hands, even sanitizer everywhere you go when you're leaving your place, okay? Before I bring out our special guest tonight, special thanks to the following people. My brother Tolitz for my early Christmas gift, which is the webcam, which I'm using right now. I think it's better quality now. I can't really tell because I'm not watching myself through Facebook. But you can follow him on Instagram on @TolitzPogi. Pogi means cute in the Philippines. So cute brother. And also I'd like to thank my husband, Steven, for helping me with the joke of the day. It's my idea. I picked the jokes. I asked him, can you find me like the worst jokes ever? And then I'll put it on the show. So thank you, honey. Now, without further ado, so that we can talk a lot about a lot of stuff with her, I'd like to bring to the stage that is virtual. I'd like to bring to you Miss Carin Gilfry. Yay!
Yay! Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I just want you to know that I already fell asleep with my kids and woke up and put on makeup, and now I'm here.
Nice. I like that before. Yeah, and as you can see there, you can follow Carin on www.caringilfrey.com and also on Instagram at Carin Gilfry. It's funny because I'm seeing Carin Gilfry because my mom's nickname is Caring, Caring. So I was like, wait, when they see it, oh, your mom's like, no, it's Carin Gilfry, not Caring Gilfry.
Exactly.
So, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So, just so everyone know, Carin and I met in 2009 in a show called The Letter. The opera The Letter by Paul Moravec back in 2009 at Santa Fe Opera. And it was an opera based on the movie with Betty Davis. And that's how we met. So what was your first impression of me when you met me?
One amazing story that I have is that you came to rehearsal and you had like a shoe box. And you opened up the shoebox and inside was a pair of leopard print shoes. And you said to me, aren't these shoes so amazing? These are so cute. And I was like, oh, yes, they are. And you were like, and they were on sale and I got them. They're not in my size, but I'm sure they're in someone's size.
Oh my God. You remember that?
I do.
Oh my God.
I do. And you were just so like amazing. You're just such an amazing presence in every room that you're in. And so I don't know. I thought
I
you
know
were
we
great.
did have fun, didn't we?
We had a lot of fun. But
We
who wouldn't
were.
have fun with you? That's the thing.
Oh, well,
Really.
talk about shoes. I think that was the one that opera was the our designer, costume designer, and set designer. Wait, set designer and costume
Yeah.
designer was the very famous fashion designer Tom
Tom
Ford.
Ford. Yeah.
And I remember talk about shoes when I wore those silver boots during
Yeah.
the tech, and
Yeah.
all I got from him was like nice boots. I got a nice boots from Tom Ford, so that was anyway. Enough about me. Tonight's not about me.
But see,
Ah,
you remember too that there's also a singer, Tom Ford, who was also there that summer. So we had Tom
you're
Ford
right.
and Tom Ford.
We had Tom Ford and Tom Ford. Yeah,
That's
two
right.
Tom Fords. Yes. So we'll jump now to let's see. We have what is that? Oh my gosh! See my friend Sierra. We are here. Yay! Welcome, Sierra. Sierra is a friend of mine who I went to school with at UCLA. And
Woo.
she lives in
Actually, I can't say that. I went to USC, so I'm supposed to say boo.
ooh. I wait. Yeah, you're my first USC. Wait, were you my first USC guest? I think you are. Wait, you know what? It's like that's the cool thing about it. I'm so glad we're not really into sports. Are you into
No,
sports?
no,
No. See, there's so many opera singers who are not into sports, and that's why it didn't really matter if we're from
no,
USC. If we're
no.
opera singers, oh no, we don't have to deal with sports at
Doesn't
all.
matter.
So let's go ahead and talk about you strolling down memory lane. Let's talk about growing up, about family. So let's start with growing up. Where were you born and where did you grow up specifically?
I was born here in Southern California, where I am now. But when I was 2, we moved to Germany because my dad had a fest contract at Opera Frankfurt. My dad's an opera singer, Rod Gilfrey.
Yes.
So we lived there for 2 years, and then we moved to Switzerland and lived in Switzerland for 5 years. So I lived in Europe from the time I was 2 until I was 9, and then we moved to Rancho Cucamonga, California, which was a really big culture shock. But it was good. Our family was there. We moved across the street from my aunt and uncle, which was great because my dad was traveling a lot, and my mom had all kinds of support from my aunt who lived across the street. My cousins were across the street, and we just grew up with family. So
So how
that was
many
great.
brothers and sisters do you have?
I have a sister and a brother. I'm the oldest, and yeah, my sister and brother are my sister's 2 years younger than I am. My brother's 4 years younger than I am.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So basically, so you grew up traveling a lot. How often do you actually travel when you were at least when you were a kid? I'm thinking, from the moment you were born until you're probably, high school, because after high school, then you just stayed in, in college and everything.
Yeah, yeah. So when we were kids, we used to travel a lot, but the great thing about living in Switzerland was that it's very centrally located. So for 5 years we were in Zurich, and anytime my dad, he had a fest there, so he was really like there. And we were in public school there, but then anytime he sang in another European country, it was like a really fast plane ride. We could go, over the weekend and come back. My mom could even go for a weekend and leave us with some neighbors and come back. Um,
Nice.
it was like the 90s. You could just leave your kids with whoever.
That's true. That's true. Well, that's awesome. You know what? That's really cool to be able to like travel all around. And the cool thing about it is you get to you see different cultures, different
Yeah,
styles. I mean,
absolutely.
you were open to all these. It was a very open, especially in Europe. You
Yeah.
know, very open, lifestyle, pretty much.
And I have to say too that my siblings and I are really, really close. And I think that that is in part due to the fact that we were living in a country where the other kids didn't speak English. So we really like bonded together as a group because everywhere we went, whether we went to like, a French speaking country or a Spanish speaking country or an Italian speaking country, we always had each other to play with. And we could always speak English with each other. So that was good. And also, my English speaking opera singer kid friends from that time period, one of them is still like my best friend
Oh
today.
wow!
That's Simon Estes is a famous bass.
Yes, I did.
Um,
Yeah,
and
I
his
do.
daughter, Lynn, is, like, one of my best friends in the world, and we know each other from being kids in Switzerland together.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So now we go to school. Yes, you did say that you went to USC,
Did.
and tell us about basically college, and then after college, after USC, where you went. So tell us about that.
I loved USC. It was so great. My teachers there, my fellow opera singer friends there, it was great. I sang in the choir, which I didn't think that I would like singing in the choir,
Okay.
very much, but it was like the USC chamber singers. I stayed longer than I had to because I just loved it. Um, yeah, we got to do a lot of cool stuff there. For my master's, I went to Juilliard, and that was an experience, let me tell ya. It was like being in the most intense academic master's program you can imagine, but then also being a part of an opera company that puts on 6 productions a year. So we would be in class from, like, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., 5 p.m., and then rehearsal from 6 to 11.
So, question: well, how would you compare? Because you went to USC,
Mhm.
even though it's not next door to LA Opera, how would you compare the frequency of being able to see shows in at LA Opera from USC compared to when you're at Juilliard being able to see operas not just at the Met but at the Lincoln Center. I mean,
Yeah.
all of them.
And it
So
and it ne when I was at Juilliard, New York City Opera was right there too, in Lincoln Center. So, there and also because Juilliard is, like, a part of Lincoln Center, people just give their tickets away. Like, people who are donors to the opera, they'll say, like, "Oh, we have seats that we're not gonna use tonight," and they would just call the vocal arts office and say, "Can you just put these let's just send an email out to any students who wanna go tonight." So, I was going to the opera, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times a month, or to the Met, and then New York City Opera a couple times a month, and then our own Juilliard shows a couple times a month. So it was probably, like, every other night I was at some kind of performance while I was at Juilliard. And at USC, I mean, USC is wonderful, and there were a lot of performance opportunities, but the LA Opera is only one place, and there wasn't as much to see, but the quality is
there
still
was they had
excellent
like they
at
had
LA Opera.
the Dorothy Chandler and then the Amundsen. However, when you of course when you're in New York, you got
Yeah.
I mean you got the Met, you got New York City Opera, and then you got what is that the next where they have the musicals again? Where is that? What is that called? That theater?
Who at LA Opera?
No, at the Met, next to the Met, just across from it. Remember where they have all the sometimes where they show is that the Lincoln Center? There's another theater there. Oh, maybe it's just
There's, like, Avery Fisher Hall, there's the Met, and there's the I don't know what the other one is.
okay.
We should know
So
these things off the top of our
I
head.
know, I know. So talk about you said you studied voice in USC and you went to Juilliard. Tell me about the whole experience of being a mezzo.
It's interesting because I was having this talk the other day with my dear friend Paul On, who's a great bass. He's wonderful, love him. Um, I feel like I was always a kind of mediocre to mediocre good singer. I was never I knew that there were a lot of things because of the way I grew up and being around opera all the time that made it really easy for me to go into opera. But once I was there, I don't think that I had, like, a competition winning voice, or I never was under the impression that I was gonna be, like, the next star of anything in opera. Um, and I went down the path that you're supposed to go down, where you do undergrad, master's, you go to a young artist program, you do all the summer programs, you leave, you get some kind of an agent or a manager, you work professionally for a time. But for me, once I left the school setting, I kind of just lost steam, and not having regular classes and regular lessons and the setting of academia really was not great for me, which is why I transitioned out of opera into something that I love very, very, very much, which is voice acting. But I did for a time sing professionally and made money as an opera singer, and I
Mhm.
paid all my bills, and I got to have some really cool experiences. One thing that's awesome is I got to do The Sound of Music with my dad at the Châtelet in Paris, and I was Liesel and he was Captain Von
Oh,
Trapp. So we were real father and daughter on stage for like 36 performances or something crazy like that. It was so
that is
fun.
amazing. That
And
is
we
amazing.
lived yeah, we
You know,
lived in Paris. It was great.
one thing that I know, and a lot of our fellow colleagues would agree, is you are one hell of a musician. We admire, like, I mean, you are really good, like, with attention to detail, and especially, I worked with you in Santa Fe, and being able to, for lack of, I know it's cliche, because to be able to take direction so easily and apply them so well. And that's the cool thing about you, is you take things so, you absorb things and you're able to deliver, and that's what makes you a really good musician. And which is, I guess, because of that, it's very helpful to what you do now. It's like it's all about
Yeah,
attention to everything,
for
which is
sure.
now which is our next topic now, is your transition from singer to voice actor. Now, we just kind of transitioned to it. So tell us about the first time you got into, or what triggered, or what kind of struck the interest of voice acting.
Yeah. So I went through a real what's the word I'm looking for? Like I went through like a young adult crisis, which I think a lot of people experience when they're in their like kind of late 20s and you realize, "Oh, I'm an adult and I need to figure out, what the rest of my life is going to look like. Do I still want to do this? Do I want to do something else?" I was in a car accident in LA
Oh,
and I was totally fine. I was
I
with
heard
Dan
about yeah.
Yeah, I was with Dan Okulich. Um, he was a singer. He was in the passenger seat, I was driving. We got T-boned by a 90-year-old man who ran a red light, and Dan actually broke his neck. He's fine. I, like, got a little bit banged up. I broke my wrist, but I was, like, shaken to my emotional core, and from there many things happened, but basically that was the catalyst for me to kind of reevaluate what I was doing, um, and really figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And I realized that opera, while it was a love of mine, and there were things about it that I really, really loved, it wasn't the ultimate love of mine, and it wasn't ultimately what I wanted to do. So, um, I had a friend who was, doing audiobooks, and I thought, if I, like, go back to when I was a kid and what I really, really ultimately wanted to do with my life, I really wanted to be a Disney princess. And now to be a Disney princess, you really have to be a famous on-camera actor already, and then they just, like, transition you into doing a Disney princess role. So you have to be like Kristen Bell or you have to be like Mandy Moore or something. So
Yes.
I'm probably not going to be a Disney princess, but I thought, what's like Disney princess adjacent so that I could maybe get my foot in the door? And that was voice acting. So I had a friend who was doing audiobooks, and I thought, oh, that's something that I could do in between gigs. I built a little studio for myself at home, and I started auditioning on a couple of online platforms, and I found that I just absolutely loved it. In 1 year, I think I narrated 40 different audiobooks. Um, and after that, I was, like, just off to the races, just learning as much as I possibly could about the craft of voiceover and about the business of voiceover, because voiceover as a business is it's like setting up a new business as a freelance photographer.
Mhm.
You have to have all your own equipment. you have to get a lot of your own clients. You have to build up a body of work. You have to do a lot of marketing yourself. It's not the same as in opera where you kind of follow this path of school to young artist program to manager, and then your manager kind of helps you get auditions and that kind of thing. In voiceover, it's very much like you're doing a lot of it yourself.
So how many years, like from when you realized that you wanted to do this, how long did it take for you to get to a point where, oh, I've already established myself, when you start doing your kids show, how long during that training and the process?
I think that it was probably 3 years
Wow.
before I was making a full living in voiceover. The first 2 years, I was like adding money to my income, but I was still singing, and my real income was still coming from opera. Um, but I was doing voiceover kind of on the side.
So it was
Um,
a real transition. It's not
yeah,
like
it really was a
not like
transition.
cold turkey. It's like stop and then
Yeah.
go to no. It was a real transition so that you could ease into it.
Yeah, and also, I had to learn that being an opera singer did not help me at all in voiceover. I mean, there are certain things like musicality and, of the musicality of speech and being able to fit things into a certain time, frame,
Yes.
like commercials are 30, 15, and 6 seconds now,
Mhm.
um, but a lot of opera singers kind of talk like this, and this is kind of just how they talk all the time, right? And this
Oh
is
my
how
God.
kind of how I talked all the
What?
time. So I would and it's very musical and it's very great, and your soft palate's a little bit raised, and you're just kind of talking like this. That's the opposite of what people want in commercials. In commercials, they really like, you have to really just talk like this, and you're a regular person, and every day we make the world a better place, and
Well,
you have maybe
opera
a little
singers.
vocal fry,
Well,
it's
just so people know, it's like opera singers do talk like that when they have to talk about someone else. Like, did you see what he was wearing? Did you see that? I would
It's
never
true.
wear something like
It's true.
that. It's the only
It's
time we
totally
actually
true.
sound like voiceover people.
It's
It's when we
really
start gossiping.
true.
Okay, now we jump into, when you're now a professional and you have these projects and you have your social media presence, because you told me, you have mentioned to me that you have these Facebook groups that you run and then projects. Let's talk about now. I want to go immediately to the kids show.
Yeah.
Which is, what is the title, by the way? I know it's Rosie and Phoenix, but what is the title of the kids show?
It's called Rosie's Place. Is the
Rosie's
name.
Place.
Yes.
I didn't put the right
Rosie's
thing
Place.
there, but
No,
so I
it's fine.
guess, so so
But the characters are Rosie and
it
Phoenix.
is, tell us about the original.
Yes.
Tell us
So
about.
Rosie's Place is like an absolute love of mine, and I wish that I had time to do more of it because I just love it. But the concept is we take stories written by kids and we bring them to life on the show. So we bring them to life with puppets and with music and with um dancing and all kinds of stuff. And the show is really just, I don't know, it came out of my desire to do something creative when I was moving from opera into voiceover and just figuring out all of the things that I wanted to do with my career. That's me and Phoenix on set at Rosie's Place. Um, but the show is all of the puppets except for Phoenix were made by me. That's the in the first picture you showed, that was like my mock-up of Phoenix. This is the real Phoenix that was done by a great puppet designer, David Fino.
Mhm.
Um, but the rest of the puppets on the show are all made by me. We hired professional puppeteers on the show. We had some volunteer puppeteers as well. And basically, kids send us stories from all over the world, and we find the ones that we like the best, and we bring them to life on the show.
And so and this is still going on, correct?
I mean, we did 6 episodes, and I still get story submissions, but we haven't done a new season. I would like to, but I mean, It's
We'll
it's
see.
really
We'll
busy
see.
now.
So, and tell me about the Facebook group that you do run, and
Yeah, yeah. So I am the president of a group called Voice Actors of NYC, and it's a group for voice actors in New York City. We have almost 4,000 members now, especially since the pandemic hit. It has been we've just had an influx of all the actors in New York City who want to get into voiceover now.
Mhm.
Um, but it's basically a community group where we do free and donation-based classes and events. We used to do them all in person, now we do them all on Zoom. And it's awesome. It's wonderful. It's like the my community of people. I have people there who are my really, really close friends who we met just because of the Facebook group.
That's
So
amazing.
I love it.
So, okay, and so you how often do you guys meet?
So we were doing 2 to 4 events a month. So just about every week or every other week before the pandemic hit. Then after the pandemic hit, we still pretty much have been doing 2 to 4 Zoom events a month. So, and the thing that I love about it too is that, it's not just an online group. The whole point is that we see each other in person so that you can form a community, you can put a face to a profile picture, a real face, a real life face to a profile picture and really get to know people in person, not just online. People write weird stuff online.
That's true.
Right?
I mean,
It's like you can
you
hide
can't
behind
avoid
your
that.
profile online. Yeah. But when you're in person and somebody has brought you their lavender bread that they baked themselves in their own oven and they're sharing it with all of you, it's a totally different experience
Oh my God.
from just somebody hiding behind a profile, right?
That's true.
So
That's true.
so
So
we love it.
now we get to here. Now we're gonna go to what you are currently doing right now. You are a voice actor. You do a lot of voiceovers. Now you said you do audiobooks. And
Mhm.
what else?
I do.
What are all the platforms that you actually do?
So this is the cool thing about voiceover that people don't realize. When people think voiceover, they think animation,
Yes.
documentary narration. Maybe they might think audiobooks, maybe they might think video games, but that's pretty much all people think about. But really, anytime you hear a disembodied voice,
Mhm.
like a voice somewhere that doesn't have someone on screen, it's probably a voice actor. So that includes things like company e-training videos, right? So anytime your company has a new like sexual harassment policy and you need to take the course online, it's probably a voice actor walking you through the e-training course. Um, uh,
Oh, so when I applied for 7-Eleven,
yeah,
I have to go through this like,
the
oh,
training
I have to
course.
do this
Yes,
course. It's like, and then somebody speaking, what did they do wrong? So
exactly,
that's the voice.
exactly right,
That's
exactly
awesome.
right, right. Um, then also like on hold message systems. So whenever you call American Airlines and they're like, "Hello, Rodel, we've matched your phone number to your, whatever."
You
Like,
would think
if
that
you'd
would
like
be
to
a
book it,
robotic thing, but it's
but
really is a human person.
it is actually a robotic thing, but a voice actor originally recorded it. That's something called IVR or interactive voice recording. So that means that they recorded a bunch of prompts, and then depending on what you say, it can listen to you, and the AI within the system determines what the best response is to you,
But
right?
those are really recorded by a person.
They're really recorded by
They're
a
not
person.
like, they're not from a formula from a computer and then they produce the sound. So
No.
that's good to know because every
Yes.
time I say it's like, oh, sounds robotic. But then now I've heard you like speak that it's like, oh my God, that those are real people.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and
Okay.
I've done some of these systems where, there are like 7 different responses to the same question. And you're like, "I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I'm sorry. I'm
You know,
having
it's
trouble
funny.
hearing you."
Every time
Right?
I call and then I hear that, I always say operator,
I know.
operator,
Person, person. I wanna talk to a person. I know.
All right, so
It's
we're gonna
annoying.
see a few clips, and this the one adversity. Tell us about the first clip.
So, this is a COVID commercial. So this
The
is kind of
adversity.
interesting. Yeah. So when the lockdown happened, voice actors who had home studios were started working a lot because all of the studios were closed, right? So we couldn't go in person anywhere. I happen to have a home studio. I actually made a Google Doc of all the voice actors that I could find that had home studios to kind of send around to different production companies, and we ended up with, I think, 400 people in one day signed up, said they had a professional home studio. But still, that's 400 people out of thousands that normally audition
Mm-hmm.
for things in person. So this is a commercial that I did kind of in the middle of COVID for a company called Cisco. Cisco's a restaurant supplier. Restaurants, as we all know, were really
I am
impacted.
familiar with that song.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
um, and yeah, this is a commercial that I'm actually nominated for a Sovas Award for this
Yes.
commercial, and we will find out the results of the Sovas Awards on December
All
20th.
right, now we're gonna play that
Yeah.
specific ad now for everyone. This is the first one.
Adversity came to town and said, "Show me what you're made of." So we showed it our people, sourcing and distributing more fresh food than anyone. We showed it our drivers, helping grocers restock their shelves. We showed it how we're donating millions of meals to those in need. We showed it how we've helped thousands of restaurants convert to takeout and pop-up markets. And how we're encouraging all Americans to take out, to give back. Adversity came to town. So we looked it right in the eye. And it won't be us that blinks first.
Oh my God, your voice is so good. I'm like,
Thank you.
it's gonna be okay. How dare you? How dare
You
you?
know what's funny is I think when this COVID thing happened, like I was very, very lucky to be in a position to have a home studio, but then to also be like the right age and gender of what people were looking for in commercial voiceover. And that's, I think, because everyone's feeling so much anxiety, and the person that you really want to reassure you, in my mind, is like my mom, right? Or
Yeah.
like you're a mom, but it's not necessarily your mom in her 60s or 70s or 80s, because those people are vulnerable during COVID. It's like your mom when she was in her 30s. That's when you were a kid, when your mom was in her 30s, that's the voice that you want to hear from, because that's the most reassuring for people, I think. So I think that's, I don't know, I think that's why.
Now, let's see. We have a comment here. It's like, oh, before we show, we'll take the questions later. Now, this next one is the city one. Tell us about the city one.
This is a Citibank commercial that started airing right after Kamala Harris was named as the nominee, which is pretty cool. And it's basically about Girl Scouts and leadership and Citibank.
All right, let's listen to it.
Can saving the planet be my job?
How can I make change in my community?
How can I become a congresswoman? What do I need to study to become senator? Could I change things more at the state level or the federal level? Do I have to be mayor before I become governor? Why aren't there more women in government?
Change begins with a question. So City Foundation is supporting Girl Scouts as they empower young leaders through civic education to help create a better tomorrow.
Nice. I know that was, and then this next one is CVS. So
Yeah.
this is just now my question is what is the when they show this, how nationwide do they show this? Do they show this in just in certain states, certain cities, or is it like a
depends.
nationwide?
It totally depends. So like so CVS, I'm actually the national brand voice of CVS. So I do all the CVS.
Yes!
Yeah. I do all the CVS TV, radio. I don't do a lot of the in-store messages, and I don't do the on-hold message system, but all of their company training videos and like
You do
random
that?
internal stuff. Yeah, I do CVS so that they have a unifying brand voice across the whole thing. So CVS is like, and I've been doing it for about, I want to say a year and a half, maybe close to 2 years now, which is pretty fun.
Make sure you guys follow Carin, okay? Check her website and follow her on Instagram.
Yeah. And I do a lot of Citibank, I do FedEx, I do Nutrisystem. Those are the ones that I have on air right now. Mio Water, but the ones that the brand keeps having you come back and do more and more, and so your voice kind of becomes associated with the brand.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, CVS is the only one that I'm like the national brand voice now.
We're gonna hear CVS now.
Yeah.
Help is on the way. To support you during the current health situation, CVS Pharmacy is now offering free 1 to 2 day delivery of prescriptions and everyday essentials you need to stay well in the days ahead. Visit cvs.com/delivery or call your local CVS pharmacy to learn more so you can be prepared, stay on track with your medication, and stay well with free prescription delivery from CVS.
So I think what Steven and I are going to do now is usually when we still have cable and we TiVo stuff and then we see commercials. When we see a CVS commercial, be like, stop. Want to make sure it's Carin. That's what we're going to do now.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Now, this last one, I think this is one of my favorites of all the clips because it is very specific to what's going on right now. So tell me about the girl in the mirror.
Yeah, so this is for the Lincoln Project, and the Lincoln Project is a group of Republicans who basically who made it their mission to have Joe Biden win the election. So which is really interesting that Republicans were trying to get Joe Biden elected, right?
Yeah.
And what I love about the Lincoln Project and about this ad in particular is that so the world of politicals moves really, really fast. Something happens in the news and they need to get an ad out about it as soon as possible, right? So often there isn't time for a directed session. So often I'm sitting in my studio and I have the directors and producers in my headphones and I'm recording myself as they're directing me live. But with this, they sent me the script and they were like, send us back some takes. And so I just recorded this on my own. We went through a couple rounds of revisions on my own, and then they put it together and put it on TV. So what I love about this, this came out, I would say, I'm not sure, maybe a month and a half before the election. But it was featured on, what was it? Nightline. Or maybe 60 Minutes. Sorry, it was on 60 Minutes. And yeah, what I love about this is I feel like it's really, I had the freedom to kind of give my own performance of this, and they of course tweaked and moved and made everything fit perfectly into the video. But
and now we're gonna see it.
Really, yeah.
Imagine a young girl looking in the mirror, searching for role models in the world to give her hope that one day she too can make a difference. Now imagine how she feels when she watches women being verbally attacked.
What a stupid question that is. What a stupid question. But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions.
Maligned.
And this monster that was on stage with Mike Pence, who destroyed her last night, by the way.
Belittled.
I'm not thinking, Mr.
That's
President.
okay. I know you're not thinking. You never do.
I'm sorry?
Harassed.
Blood coming out of her, wherever.
Insulted.
And I'd look her right in that fat, ugly face of hers. I'd say,
Your daughters are listening and absorbing that message right in front of your eyes. Now imagine a different future for her. A future with a president who doesn't just value a female voice, but chooses one to be his right-hand woman. A strong woman. A woman with compassion. A woman unafraid to take on a bully.
And I want to add, Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking.
A woman who not only believes in the American dream, she embodies it. Imagine that little girl in the mirror, because that little girl is yours. And your actions on November 3rd will define who she sees. Vote for change. Vote for her. The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Wow, I love that. That was really. I was like, I don't know why I never saw that.
Yeah.
Oh, I know why. Because I was one to avoid everything. It's like I needed to avoid everything politics. It's
I
like just
totally
vote and then
understand that.
just stay home.
Yeah.
And you know what? We're just gonna let nature take its course. But I'm so glad I'm able to see that now. It's very moving, powerful, and kick ass.
Thanks.
That was one kick ass like commercial. And yeah, I'm so proud of just knowing you for doing all this. It's like so proud of you because I was like, I actually know people. Like you're like now it's like I have a friend who is in Dr. 90210.
Oh,
The
yeah.
show, Dr. Michelle Lee, that I went to UCLA with, and
Ooh.
she was a concert piano performance major, but did pre-med and actually did and is now a surgeon.
Wow.
So that's why now I know her, and then I know you. So it's
She
just nice
must
to
be
see
like
them.
just an absolutely really crazy smart person to be piano performance and then also like also do pre-med and become a surgeon.
So
That's
by the
pretty
way, my
amazing.
friend Sierra right there, I guess she knew that ad.
Oh,
She
cool.
loved that ad. Now, this is a question from my husband now. It says,
Yep.
is your home studio prefabricated or do you design and build it on your own? Also, how big is it? And where in your home is it?
Yes. So this is a Studio Bricks booth. It's a prefabricated booth. It's a company that's from Spain. And so the booths are all shipped from Spain to America. I had one in New York that was smaller than this one. This is the bigger one that we bought when we bought our new house about 6 months ago. And it is in my home office, which when we bought the house, we actually tore out all the walls of the home office and had them replaced with sound insulation foam and a thicker sheet rock called Quiet Rock. So the room itself is very, very quiet and the booth itself is very, very quiet. But this is Studio Bricks and I absolutely love
So what's the specs of the whole booth?
It's 7 feet tall. I think this one lengthwise, it's like about 3.5 feet wide and
Oh
I
my.
don't know, 5 feet deep.
Wow, that's very intimate.
Yes, it is.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now
4 feet wide. 4 feet wide. I don't know.
So now we go back. We go since we were talking about your home. Now
Yeah.
this is going to be a twofer.
Do
We're gonna
it.
talk about your married life and children, and then so first of all, how long have you been married now?
Oh, our anniversary is on the 22nd and it will be 4 years on the
4
22nd.
years. And how many
Yeah.
kids do you have?
We have 2 kids. They're 3 and 1.
So you waited 1 year before you had a
Well,
kid.
no, actually.
Oh,
Our 3-year-old was a surprise and I was married while pregnant with her. Yeah.
wow.
But we kind of planned it that way. We knew pretty soon after we met that like this was like the person. This was my person. I wanted to be with this person. And he like kind of like low key proposed, but it wasn't really official. We even like got a friend's crib and like put it under our bed. Even we were like, oh, we'll have kids someday. And it was like the weekend that we put the crib under the bed. We were like, oh, now we're pregnant.
That's
So
well,
like it wasn't like it was totally unplanned, but it was definitely a surprise. But it was exactly what we wanted anyway. So it was
so
fine.
now we are going to talk about because this is a lot of we have so many mutual friends, and one of our at least one of my friends who know and follow you on Facebook and also on on your posts wants to know about these like social issues because I don't know if everybody knows that what background sometimes I'm Filipino, and for me, if somebody asks me what's your background, I'm not really offended by that because
Right,
I don't know
right,
because I'm from the Philippines or what's your ethnicity. It's not
right,
really offensive to me. So
right.
what would be the right question is like, what is your husband's ethnicity? Original.
So my husband, his mom is African American and his dad is English from England.
Okay.
And they met in Africa when they were both teaching there. Sean's my husband. Sean's mom is from the Bay Area. And yeah, they met and they had him. He grew up in England for a time and then
Ah,
moved to the States. But yeah, I can I'll pull up a picture on my phone. We'll get very of us together. This is us together.
the whole thing is just oh, look at him. Yes,
There
yes.
we are.
So, how did you guys meet? Where did you guys meet?
We met at Trader Joe's on 72nd and Broadway. I was apparently he saw me in the frozen food section and thought that I was attractive. I saw him in the checkout line, which if you've
Did you
ever been,
say he saw you
he
at
thought
the
of me
frozen
in
section?
the frozen section. No. He and I saw him in front of me in line and I was like, "Oh my God, that's the most attractive man I've ever seen." And I just really wanted to talk to him. But then, the line in Trader Joe's is very long in New York City. So I had time to plan our whole future together and then in the checkout line. And then when we both walked out of the store at the same time, we both walked to the uptown side of the subway at the same time. And then I walked past him and I gave him a little smile and look away. And then he said, "Excuse me, are you from California?" And I said, "Yes, I am from California." And I found out later that was like a pickup line.
Oh my God, yes.
But but
That's
anyway, we talked on the subway and then we got married and had 2 babies and moved to California, and that's the story.
So now my question is because I've heard this from so many I guess from so many celebrities on in show business. I was like, how does she? Okay, so and what I want to know is a lot of first of all a lot of people who are half non-white and half white.
Mhm.
Sometimes they always have a problem with like, oh my God, they're not white enough to be white, they're not black enough to be black. With your husband being already biracial, and then which is his when he grew up, it was a different time.
Yeah.
And then now that you have kids, now it's how what do you see? How do you see the world with them in it now? Like, what are your hopes? And
Yeah.
your ideas. Tell me.
So we are so fortunate that my mother-in-law moved from Chicago to Southern California when we moved from New York to Southern California. And she, as an African American woman, I think has such a better handle on this than I do as a white woman. I did not have to think about this stuff really
Mhm.
in my heart until I had a Black husband. And so for me, it's only been 5 years. She's been in this as as an African American woman since the day she was born. And so she does such a good job of talking to me and talking to my kids and talking to our family and talking to the world about racial justice and about equality and all kinds of things. And I just feel so lucky that I have her kind of as a model and as an advocate raising these kids. I think when Kamala Harris won, and Joe Biden won, my daughter, you know, for the first time, she's only 3, but she will remember that the first vice president that she can remember will be a woman that looks like her, you know?
That's amazing.
Um,
That is
and that's like,
impressive.
it's so cool to me. When I
It's
was
like
growing up, Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, it's like when Obama became president, then all these little kids now say, "Oh my God, I can be president."
Yeah.
And then now with Kamala Harris being
Yeah.
vice president, now all these little girls will now
Yeah.
think I can be that person. So
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because Trump, was really it was a time. But it also, I think, exposed for a lot of people the kind of deep um the deep-seated inequality that exists in America in particular. Um it's out in the open now in a way that it wasn't before. People feel more empowered to speak up about it, which is good, on both sides, which is maybe not good, but
not
at
all,
least,
I mean,
I
not
mean,
always so good.
yeah, I mean, my husband always says I'd rather know someone is a wolf than a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? So
Yeah.
it's like at least I know where these people stand now, and at least people who thought like, oh, racial justice is over and everyone's equal now and everything's great and everyone has the same opportunities. Now they see, that's actually not really the case. That hasn't been the case
It's
ever.
like we're back to the old days, but the only difference is now we have a voice and we can fight back. Because back in the old days, they were very blunt about being so, so I guess prejudiced. And like now, but back in the day, people weren't as courageous to fight back
Yeah.
because of the majority. Now there's the equality is being introduced gradually, and it's like, oh my God, we have more voice now. There's a lot more of us now, which means even though we know they're present, at least now we can fight back.
Yeah.
And that. So
I mean, my biggest thing is like for all of my people who are not white, all of my friends, all of my family members, my biggest thing is I need to remember to keep my mind open and keep learning and keep listening to them and keep believing them, because I don't know everything. I grew up in this body with this skin. I lived in this world that has been in a system of white, institutionalized white privilege, for since the founding of the nation, and before. I don't know what it's like in their shoes. The only thing I can do is stay open and listen and believe them and help. So that's how I'm navigating the world these
so
days.
now I'm gonna come to like there's a couple of questions, and hopefully we
Yeah,
can
sure.
answer this uh in a way. So Caesar had a question. How does she dissect her voiceover script? I don't know what that means.
So I guess what that means is when you get a script, it's just words on a page, right? How
Yes.
do you know what to do with it? Um the so it depends on the project, but for the most part, since I've been doing this a long time, I kind of know what each script is going for as soon as I look at the words on the page. I know if it's like a CarMax commercial where it's like, "Hey, at CarMax, this is the way car buying should be," right? Or if
Yeah.
it's or if it's like or if it's like, or if it's like a really, heartfelt, warm commercial about like baking cookies with your grandma or something. Those are two totally different commercials. Or if it's like an informational script, I kind of know that from the words on the page. It really comes from just knowing the craft and listening to a lot of voiceover. And there are all kinds of little techniques, but that's basically just the overview.
And then now this is actually a soprano that I was had the pleasure of doing teaching a master class on, and this is Lauren. She's a soprano. It's like, what at home setup do you recommend for someone just starting out in voiceover? Did you upgrade as you started to get more gigs? I am currently working with a Blue Yeti.
Yes. Okay. So I started with a Blue Yeti for like about 3 years, the first 3 years of my career. That's what I had. And voiceover can be incredibly expensive with all of the demos and all the equipment and all of the booths and all kinds of stuff. So my advice to everyone starting in voiceover is to just grow as you go. The more gigs you book, the more professional equipment you will need. The better you get, the more professional stuff you'll need. So start with what you have, make your career with what you have. And then as you start getting more work and you have the budget to be able to upgrade, then get better equipment and just keep going up and up and up until you make it.
Oh, now we come to the final part of our part of the interview. Your
Yeah.
favorite binge-worthy shows, if you actually have time. I mean, you got kids, you got these projects, these groups. I mean, do you have time to binge watch?
I mean, when I'm folding laundry, for sure.
Oh my God, I remember your post about what should I watch during folding laundry? And somebody said something about, there was this one person who said, it was like, no, you can't. For me, I would never watch, if I'm folding laundry, I would never watch something that has a plot.
I know. I know.
So what did you end up, when you were folding laundry, what did you end up technically watching?
Oh, I watched Love After Lockup. Do you know that show?
No, but what is it?
One of our the best man at our wedding is a producer on that show. So we love to watch Love After Lockup. But basically it's convicted people who've been in prison. They start relationships with people outside of prison, and then when they come out of prison, then they see if they can make it work in the real world.
Oh my God, I did hear about
reality TV. It's excellent.
Awesome.
Love After Lockup.
Well, you know what? This has been a really, really, really very enjoyable time talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, I think a lot of people, I'm so glad that a lot of people were able to if you notice, you can see the comments and everything too,
I don't
right?
think I can.
It's kind of nice. It's like,
oh yeah, I can. Look at that. Wow.
Yeah, you can
I
see it's
didn't
like
even know.
she even says, I love her voice, that kind of thing. And it's like, handsome man. Oh yeah, that's your husband. Like my husband was reacting to your husband. Handsome man. I thought it was my handsome man. Nope, it's your husband.
It's my husband.
Thank you again. And one of the I actually, that's one of the things I also thought about doing was like voiceover, but I knew it will take a lot of time, a lot of training, and also like what you said, a lot of resources and all that. And for me, who likes to do this and that and this, I like to be, the.
Do you speak other languages?
Just mine.
Just yours.
Yeah. So.
That's one way. That's one way to.
Inspiring.
Oh, thank you. Well, all right. If I can say one inspiring thing before we go, maybe it's inspiring. I don't know.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to take initiative for your own future. Do not be afraid to make a change and take the reins and take charge of what you want to be for yourself. That's one thing that I had to learn coming out of the opera world and getting into the voiceover world. I was relying on so many other people in opera to make my path for me. And when I got into voiceover, I realized, you know what? I'm really in charge of the number of people that I put myself in front of to potentially get work or have opportunities for my future. So don't close yourself up. I mean, do close yourself up because we have to socially distance.
Of course.
But have your heart be open and put yourself out there and take control of your future in whatever way you want to, as much as you can during this really crazy, awful time.
That's
what I'll say.
Thank you again. You know what? I actually, when you said that, it's weird because right now I'm working at a convenience store, and I'm thinking, if I wait that's one of the reasons why I decided to do this show, because
Exactly.
I know I'm not gonna have 30 viewers even and stuff like that, but I want to be able to do it every day. Two reasons: I want to be able to do it at a time when people wouldn't do it. This is like 11 p.m. there, and then 1 a.m. Nobody does a live stream. Unless you're in Europe, then they see it at like 7 or 8 a.m. But here, no. So I'm lucky if I get audience. Another thing is I'm talking to friends. Every day I get to pick a friend that I actually get to catch up with, which never happens normally for people. They're too you know what I mean? It's like who do I call? But if by doing this, I get to schedule them. Okay, I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to ask them. And I'm actually very happy that I get to talk to you tonight.
Yeah, and it feels empowering, right? Isn't
Yes.
it empowering to have something creative and to have something to look forward to and to have something that's building an audience and that's like,
Yeah. I mean, it's not
it's
perfect
amazing.
yet. I mean, it's
No,
not, it's
nothing's
still a
ever
work in
perfect.
progress. First of all, it's just me doing this, So
Steven
anyway,
says you're both handsome, by the way.
I know, I saw that. I'm not going to share that. No, it's like you're more handsomer. So anyway, you want to say goodbye to our audience?
Goodbye, audience. Thank you for sharing this night with us. And we'll see you. Well, I won't see you next time, but Roro will see you next time. Join,
And with that,
share, like.
And with that, thank you, Carin. Remember, Carin Gilfry, voice actor. Please follow her on Instagram at Carin Gilfry. And before I leave, I also want to plug myself. Plug myself. What? Plug myself? Oh, plug myself. Here it is. Roro after midnight. Every night, just follow me on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter and Instagram at Roro the Tenor. Thank you again for joining us. And we will see you tomorrow with my guest, Carl Reyes, fellow Filipino singer from Seattle. And on that note, goodbye.